on your block. Now, a block, if you look here, this is the 3100 block of R Street, okay? So if you're the block captain there, you have everything that's on this side of the 2100 block of R Street and everything on this side of 2100. So face to face, because you're going to see each other face to face. You're going to see people going into the fronts of the house. Now, does that mean you ignore the backs of the house? Absolutely not. You're going to form a coalition with the block captain who's on the next street over. And each of you are going to watch the backs of your houses as well, so that the neighbors behind, if they see somebody going in your backyard, they're going to notify the police and they're going to know what to do as well. So we need to work together, but it's front to front. That's where the block is. It used to be years ago you had a square, and the alley was part of that square. It became too much to keep an eye on, so we just do facing each other on the one block. But let's go through this and then we'll have questioning afterwards, if that's okay. So we're going to contact all the neighbors on the block and obtain their phone number, home, office, cell, and emergency. If you have people who are snowbirds and they're 6 months here and 6 months in Florida, you want to make sure you get that extra information, because we've had pipes burst and all sorts of things. You don't want to leave that for 6 months and come home to wet basement that's been sitting for 6 months. That's not a good idea. Let's see. You want email addresses, one for each member of the household. And what happens to the people who don't have email? We're mostly going to talk to each other through email. But if you don't have email, you need a buddy. So on your sheet, it says here, flyer and buddy. You want to try and get somebody who will agree to be the buddy of the person who we call a flyer. A flyer is somebody who's going to need a flyer. You have to present them with an email that's printed. So if I don't have email, Saul's going to copy his email and drop it in my door. He's going to be my buddy. Okay, so you want to form and put the name next to the person who doesn't have email. Put the name who's volunteered to be the buddy. We found that on most blocks, it's a senior citizen who doesn't have a computer and doesn't want to do email. And also, those same people are the ones who have buddies already who provide Thanksgiving dinner, all sorts of other services to keep them in touch on the block. So most blocks have buddies assigned to people who would be your flyer. But if they don't, more reason to have Neighborhood Watch. We want to keep in touch. Now, I mentioned that newspapers in the front of the house that pile up when people are away, it's not the only time newspapers pile up. We had a woman who was dead in her house for 2 weeks, and the newspapers had piled up in front of her house. There was no Neighborhood Watch on that block, and people just let it pile up. You see papers piling up, and you don't think your neighbor's away, that means you go check on them, find out if they're okay. Get involved. Don't be apathetic. We want to make sure that our block becomes our extended family. We're going to take care of each other. Big hug around the block, okay? A block list should be user-friendly. I see something in the house across the street from me. There's a guy on a ladder. He just broke the second floor window. He's climbing in through the window. Who am I going to contact? Let me see. Can I find it on this sheet? No. This sheet just tells me everybody's information, but it's not user-friendly. How do I find out who's in that house across the street from me? Okay? It needs to be user-friendly. Sure, you want all the information, but you want to be able to use it. Okay? This was my block list. How long ago was it that we didn't have recycling? Like 20 years ago? That's when I put it together. My block hired a company. We did our own recycling. So I put together the block list at that time. This was the person who didn't want to participate in Neighborhood Watch. Their house number is there, but their information is not there. Okay? You still want the house number because you want to be able to call the police. So I can look across from my house and tell exactly who lives there. right? I can see the house number, I can see who lives there, and you go one step beyond that. So another block cabin. You have the house number, nice, bright number. Don't have to go searching for my magnifying glass to find it. I get the house number and the name, and then I go into the Excel spreadsheet and I can find their phone numbers and I can start calling. Hi, this is Samantha. I just noticed some guy on a ladder going into your house through the second story. Are you having your windows replaced? You're not? All right, I'm calling 911. All right? So, as soon as I see that, take a piece of paper and I start writing down everything I see. I'm on hold, here's my phone. I'm on with 911. I'm noticing, let's see, the guy's about 5 feet tall, 250 pounds. He's got short curly hair, glasses, big bushy eyebrows. I'm writing all of this down. Nice scar running across his face here where he's been caught by somebody previously. Writing that scar, diagonal scar across the face, okay? And then the next thing I'm going to notice is his shoes. Okay? I didn't put anything about his clothing down yet. Okay? We found that people who commit crimes often commit more than one in a day, and they wear or have worn in the past something called a tearaway. A tearaway says New York Knicks on it, Boston Celtics. Okay? You see the guy climbing up the ladder, what's the first thing you're going to see? His t-shirt, right? You write down Boston Celtics, okay? You've totally forgotten about his face, his hair, his shoes, everything else. All you saw was Boston Celtics. Well, as soon as he finishes this burglary, whoop, off it goes in the nearest dumpster. He's walking down the street with, Boston Red Sox or Washington Redskins. He's got a whole different, and the police are looking, oh, where's this Boston Red Sox? Where is he? We don't see him. Well, we don't have anything else on this guy, so we don't pay attention to the clothes. Now, are you going to write down what he's wearing? Sure, because every once in a while we get really lucky, and the guy is so dumb that he wears exactly what he's got on from crime to crime. The police pick him up. They can tie him to several burglaries in the same night. He's wearing the same garb. They take a Polaroid, they take a digital picture, it used to be Polaroids, digital picture of the guy when they arrest him, and that becomes part of the file as well. So, you've got all your information down here. The trial doesn't happen for 24 months, 28 months. You've forgotten what's gone on. You've been interviewed by 6 different people. They've asked you questions. You're totally befuddled. You have your piece of paper, though. Okay? You save this in a very secure place because when you're called as a witness, they're going to say, this happened 28 months ago. How do you know this is the guy? Well, you take out your piece of paper. They've just played the 911 call where you've read off all of this stuff. They showed the jury the picture of the guy that matches exactly your 911 call, and you've got your piece of paper with your notes on it. This is how I remember. I wrote it down. Studies have shown that if you are told something, you remember about 25% of it. If you're told something and you see something, you remember about 50%. If you're told something, you see something, and you write it down, you remember about 75 to 90%. Okay? And if you say it at the same time you're writing it, you remember almost everything. So that's why when I'm a tutor, I work with children with learning disabilities. I make them use all of their senses in order to learn things. The more senses you use, the more you're going to remember.